Just to
Yeah.
say one word about pain, because we did a lot of pain study with Richard Davidson and Antoine Lutz. So there are two things: the anticipation. You start worrying a lot before even the pain comes, and then the strong reaction. I don't want to have this pain. So those two usually increase the sort of bad feeling. So what was found during the study with meditators is that they feel the pain with the same intensity, but the unpleasantness aspect of the pain is incredibly reduced. I could even meditate on sort of bliss at the same time of having physical pain, and it just reduced the emotional impact. So, I mean, those just are the way to use our own mind. There's nothing mysterious about all that. It's simply, it needs to be practiced. There's no other words than practice, practice, practice. And then practice, whether it's juggling or playing chess, there will be results.
Yeah, I can testify to that as someone who gave birth less than 2 years ago, and who found actually my yogic breathing and a very small steps towards meditation, towards hypnobirthing, unbelievably powerful as a tool during the whole process. It was a very, very long labor of 50 hours or so, and I found that actually the pain was, I sang through a lot of the pain because I was able to harness something within that, and it was incredibly, incredibly powerful. And we know that with women particularly who give birth, that afterwards, and obviously I'm speaking very much after the event now, that our bodies and our minds particularly rewrite that pain and erase that pain. The pain is very momentary, and now I look back and it's the most incredible experience. The whole thing was extremely positive. In the moment there was extraordinary pain, of course, but memory is so linked to this, as you were saying, Matthieu. It's the anticipation and then it's the recovery and the memory that is in a way what can change our experience of pain. I want to come back
and just one thing.
Yes,
you can
please,
even
Matthieu.
do the reverse, the nocebo. With Tanya Singer, she asked me once in the fMRI to generate pain mentally, physical pain, remembering all the electric shocks and the heat. And all the networks of the pain networks were activated. So, it was mind fabricated physical pain. And you could see in the brain, the areas of the brain sort of invoked by that.
And what about your sensation physically during that time, Matthieu? Did you feel the pain?
When I was, I was remembering the burning pain that I used to have in the lab, and very intensely, and the areas lit up. And I don't know if I felt physical pain, but certainly there was something there.
Yeah, people can. This is indeed the nocebo. So the power of the mind goes both ways.
Yes.
It can be very, very positive, and meditation is one example, but also, negative spiraling out. And to me, the challenge is to really combine both. We don't want to throw away the medication and classical medicine. I don't like this kind of black and white view. It's not alternative for me. It's really something that, as a medical doctor, I have in my options, and to combine them and give patients, empower them, basically, have a more active role, and also basically responsibility. Is what we'll see more and more. It's just a question of when. I think maybe in 1 or 2 generations, we're going to say, well, how is it possible? We've been neglecting this for so long.
Yeah, it absolutely as a complementary medicine rather than as an alternative. There was one thing that Matthieu said that about, well, a while back, but that was fantastic. I love this expression of the pill, the medical pill, being to the body what doping is to sport. I think that's fantastic. And it makes me think as well about the research and the experience that many have had with using drugs, recreational drugs, psychedelics, in the mind. I wonder where, Matthieu, I think you put your hand up just there, where you stand on this intersection between drugs to alter the states and meditation.
It's same like doping. It's a momentary state that can be stronger than a pill, and either destabilizing or sometimes mind opening, but it's completely transient unless it breaks your psyche, which happens sometimes, and it wrecks your whole system. But basically, you can't replace 20 years of, gradual training, trial and errors, receiving, explanation, reporting to your instructor or teacher how it goes, correcting that, a whole life of try to develop these basic human qualities. A little chemical on the piece of paper, that's be ridiculous. It doesn't work also.
So next time you come, Mathieu, we'll invite you to take some psychedelic drugs, right?
All right, thank you. I'm fine with what I do.
What happens, this shortcut. But I do see, because I did receive psilocybin, magic mushrooms, in my veins in an MRI scanner, while afterwards being able to see what was happening. And there are some, well, of course, meditation is not about losing your mind or hallucinating, but it was interesting to be able to compare. So yeah, Mathieu, the invitation is out.
Out of interest, what was the comparison between those two brains, Stephen, when you saw the effects?
No, well, when you're in these retreats and so very intense so-called experiences during meditation, not the aim, and you're not supposed to have out-of-body experiences or so, but it can happen. Mathieu can tell us more. And well, I felt this sense of complete bliss, and when you sit for hours, it's not comfortable. At least for me, it's this challenge, and then the pain was gone, or maybe the pain was everywhere, I'm not sure. But it was an experience, and also I felt warmth that made me think about that experience with the psilocybin. With, of course, it's just it's not the aim of meditation, and it's not the same thing. But I thought it was interesting, and it's also what I hear. We also study near-death experiences, and we have people who have them during meditation, and of course during the classical cardiac resuscitation, as when they receive psychedelic drugs. So this is, again, linking different projects here, where with the team we try to reduce our ignorance.
When you travel in India in a train, it's sometimes for 2-3 days. I mean, at least in the old days. You see a lot of things on the way, but if you would come down out of the train, every time there is some nice buffaloes or something, you will never reach destination. So meditative experience are like fireworks, they are like mist, they come and go. Actually, it's a kind of distraction. What really matters is the journey, is the slow, real change, not those fireworks. That's totally not interesting. And all the meditation teachers will tell you that. Don't bother about experiences. They come and go. Some are good, some are bad. It's like when you make fire, you get smoke. Okay, it may happen, bliss, this and that. Just don't give them any importance. Don't get attached to it. Don't hope for it. Just continue slowly your practice, and then some slow, real change will happen with time.
Here's something that's interesting. I think it's Tim Parks again who talks about this moment where it feels like an aha moment, where you get meditation, where suddenly it arrives upon you, you understand what's happening. And it happens to everyone, I think, in his description at a different time. Would you agree with that experience, both of you? I mean, if we start with Mathieu, is that something you think works?
Well, sometimes you get, if you have it with a teacher and you get teachings and you practice, you get some kind of, you see things in a different light. It's a little bit like we say, looking at the sky through the eye of a needle. So you see the sky, but it's very small, but it's an indication. But this haha on all these things usually is the tricks that distract you from real change. Real change is after 20 years, if you are less hungry, less nervous, more resilient, more kind, that nothing much can, you are not vulnerable to the ups and downs of life, but at the same time, you are very present. I mean, all those qualities, if they change, then that's it. If you meditate 10 years and people say, oh, well, he's a great meditator, but he's just as grumpy as before, you just wasted your time.
Stephen, would you agree with that?
Well, I definitely agree with the grumpy part, right? I think neuroplasticity and positive psychology is telling us, we can change how our minds function and how we react and how we, can step back, and that's the journey. So absolutely, and so you should ask, our colleagues, family, how maybe we became better human beings, but that we can have an impact, I think is very clear. And that's great that now more and more labs all over the world. And Matthieu is wonderful because he came here in Belgium. He participated with the best labs in the States, and Davidson in Germany, with Antoine Lutz in France. And so that opens many doors. And it's great. You know, when I started studying consciousness in the 90s, it was kind of taboo. And so now finally, yes, we can talk about this rather important thing in our head, our thoughts and emotions and perceptions. And even if it's complicated, we should try to make that bridge between our objective measures and what we call neurophenomenology, and what Francisco Varela was, emphasizing. And that is wonderful. So terribly happy to see more of these dialogues, and that's really what it is.
Now, I'm conscious we must get to our exercise. We're going to do an exercise in a second. I just wonder before that, given the year that we've all, the 18 months now that we've all lived through collectively, you talk, Stephen, a lot about the fact that more rigorous study needs to be done into meditation. Those studies are as you've said already at the beginning of this session, they are increasing. You mentioned as well in the book, the added value of meditation practices was studied during the COVID-19 pandemic. Could you elaborate on that now that we're a little further down the line? Have there been any results from that?
Well, a lot of people are still working on this. So currently what we see is, for example, the downloads of these apps that you mentioned, Headspace, Petit Bamboo, it's #1 in Europe, the mindfulness app. So we see that, yes, there is the need. And how do we deal with uncertainty? And, every person was impacted by COVID in a different way. And I'm convinced, and I hope that it will change as a society, that we don't think we're, above nature and just, we're very vulnerable human beings. And so the implications are huge. And then I can connect back to what Matthieu has been emphasizing. So meditation, one thing to deal with your stress, but also to think about, we have one planet and we should care about how, we organize our industries. And also Matthieu is a big advocate of animal well-being, and it is crazy if you think about it, that we're just consuming animals and considering them as products. All of that, I think, is terribly important, and something we I think again can give more attention already when we are at school, and then try to find that path. And as Matthieu emphasized, it's about the journey, and it's really this individual discovery that I hope with the book, where we have this mixture of science, clinical translation, and anecdotes and personal experiences. I have some engineers coming back and saying, well, okay, if you say it as an engineer, okay, let's give it a try. And that's wonderful. It can inspire at least one person. I'll be happy.
Fantastic. I'm going to hand over to Matthieu now, who's going to lead us in a meditation practice, a meditation exercise, and then we'll come back to me for some questions from our audience. Matthieu.
Thank you so much. So of course, it's something that, takes time, and usually some kind of instruction. The window should know what to do. But basically, any type of mind training, we first need a mind that is more calm, that is more stable, and that is more clear. Otherwise, any type of training will not really take place. So usually, and that's also what mindfulness usually teaches, we'll try to bring our attention to something. And the most common way is to pay attention to the coming and going of the breath, because it's not visible. So if you are to focus on a flashing red light, you could see it and then still be distracted. But something that you don't see, if suddenly it's out of your mind, it's out of everything. So watch your breath for a few moments, and also have a motivation that you are doing that not only for feeling better, but to become a better human being, to be a better of service to others as well. So just before we go to the next step I want to come to, just for a few seconds, let's try to focus on our breath and let our mind sort of rest, like a leaf that falls naturally on the ground of the forest, and stay there peacefully. Just we do that for a few seconds. So if you were to do that over time, every day, the mind, which is more like a waterfall, becomes like a mountain stream, then a gently flowing river. So it will become more calm, more clear, more stable. Now you can use it for enhancing other fundamental human qualities. And I want to just say a few words about how we do that for loving kindness or compassion. So we all have moment of unconditional love for a child, for a dear person, anyone, a spouse, a parent, an animal. We just feel nothing but may this person be well, safe, happy, flourish in life. May that person's aspiration be fulfilled. May that person be spared great suffering. So for the sake of convenience, I think it's quite easy for anyone to think of a young, innocent child and wish that for a few moments in the depth of your mind. Let that feeling of benevolence fill your mental landscape. If you are distracted, come back to it. If it declines, you revive it. So keep the quality, the vivid, it should be vivid, present, warm, and just fill your mental landscape with that benevolence. Now we start with someone who is very dear. Like every atom of that person is now become filled with an atom of love. And then, why not expand the circle? Why stopping to one child? Why not many children? And then where to stop? 12 years old? 14 years old? Why not all the people I know? There's nothing wrong wishing them to find happiness and be free from suffering. No matter how they act, that's a natural wish. And then we can extend that to strangers, anyone, even harmful people. They create suffering, so we can wish, may the suffering and the cause of suffering be dispelled. That's a benevolent wish. So let's try to expand the circle of this benevolence. It's not that realistically we are going to achieve removing the suffering of everyone, but at least we can have that aspiration. May all beings find happiness and the cause of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. We can make that wish. Why? Limiting it. There's no reason. So let's try to do that for another few moments. And then, as Steven said, let's not forget other sentient beings. There's 8 million species. Many of them have emotions, intelligence, sensation. Nobody, not a single human being wants to suffer. Not a single one want every sentient beings wants to live their life, their full life. So nobody likes to have a knife stab in your stomach or something. So that's a basic aspiration. So may we wish that for all of them. May they be free from suffering. May they find sort of well-being, safety, all beings, no exception. So you see, we just did that so short. Imagine you do that for an hour. You will definitely change, promise. And if you do that every day, wow, so much different where you will see others, you will see the world. So we vastly underestimate the power of transformation of the mind. That's one of our drama. So let's not do that, okay?
I think that's a wonderful place for us to start. I think if we could all dedicate those 7 minutes every day to that, I think the world would be a very different place. Thank you very much, Matthieu. I'm conscious we have a lot of questions from our audience, which is fantastic. So I'll get started straight away.